Hey, entrepreneur, Bree Seeley here. Welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneur Coach podcast. I wanted to share today an experience that I just had in my business to help you understand what it truly looks like to commit to working less and living more. So today's episode is going to be a behind the scenes look at an experience that I just had in my business to help you figure out how to shift out of the overworking and underliving paradigm so that you can also work less and live more. Because as I always say, we didn't become entrepreneurs to run ourselves ragged. We became entrepreneurs to build a lifestyle for ourselves. And if we're not actually living that life and enjoying that life, what is the fucking point? I can't wait to share with you what I have learned in my business recently. Let's get at it. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Coach podcast. I'm the Entrepreneur Coach, Bree Seeley. My mission is to help female entrepreneurs like you have the audacity to believe in the inevitability of your success, then to gather the resources, tools, and knowledge you need to create your most aligned and profitable pathway to your vision of success. This podcast is all about providing you with a nitty-gritty behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Forget the success porn and the rags to riches stories. Each episode will pull back the curtain and share the reality of entrepreneurship. I cannot wait to be part of your journey. This experience started several months ago. A woman in the community here in Tulsa asked me out to lunch to just generally catch up. I didn't actually know this at the time, but I found out when we met for lunch that she also wanted to pass a contract by me. And the contract was to help and support 5 entrepreneurs who were going through a program in their business to help them be more successful. So she started the conversation by saying, I know that our budget is way below what you charge, and I wanted to just have a conversation with you and see if it was aligned for you before we take the conversation further about hiring you. So we talked it over, and I said to her, listen, I adore you, the business that you run, the people that you'll be serving through this program. I would be honored. Now, I don't often say I would be honored to discount my prices and 5x my work for my monthly stipend, but I felt inspired at the time to support with this mission and organization. And so I said, yes, I would be more than happy to 1/5 my monthly rate to support you. She said, great, we'll be in touch with next steps. So in my mind, they had come to me and said, we want to hire you. We just want to make sure you're okay with us hiring you at the budget that we have. So fast forward a few months, I get an email that says, we would like to encourage you to apply, be one of the few that gets invited to apply for this contract. Now, I'm going to be really, really, really honest with you. When someone asks me to discount my rate for them and then asks me to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to say that I was annoyed, it's a bit of an understatement. I was not only annoyed, I was angry and I was offended. I was not in my best and highest when I responded back. Let's just say that. I want to make sure I'm not blowing this out of proportion. I then took to Facebook, if you were asked to get paid 20% of your normal going rate and do these people a favor, how would you respond? Over 100 of my colleagues from around the world responded back. Every single one of them, there was one that responded differently, but every single one of them said, absolutely not. The one that responded differently said, request for proposal are a normal thing. And I said, right, but my problem with it is they asked me if I would discount my rate for them and then made me go out of my way to compete for that contract. This is not how I do business. I responded back to them and I basically said, when you're ready to hire me, let me know. Now, I bring this story to you because my guess is, so I think the thing I forgot to say up front is that this was a 5-figure contract. And my guess is that there are some of you listening to this who hear me turning down a 5-figure contract and have a lot of anxiety around that. You need the money, You can't possibly think about saying no to any contract, no matter how much it requires you to overwork and underlive. No matter that it's neglecting to pay you 80% of your rate, that you would still have to say yes to it. You would be the one doing backbends and backflips, trying to make them happy, do whatever they asked for in order to get this contract. So the reason that I bring this story to the podcast today specifically is to highlight for you the ways in which we convince ourselves that we need to continue overworking and underliving in order to have a successful business. There is something within us that says, if I say no to this contract, there will be no more. If I fail to close this 5-figure contract, where's the next money gonna come in? And don't get me wrong, I could definitely use an extra 5 figures in my business right now. The difference is there was a point in my journey in which I absolutely would have bent over backwards to put together the 20-page proposal that they wanted me to put together, which, mind you, also included me giving them my strategy for free without any guarantees or assurances that I would then get hired for that position. Basically, there was nothing stopping them from taking the strategy that I put together and running with it without even hiring me for the 20% that they were going to be paying me. And I think it's really important for us to look at and recognize, where am I doing this in my business? Where am I believing in scarcity? Where am I thinking that I need to sacrifice myself, my well-being, my peace in order to make money in my business? Because that is a line of thinking and a pattern that no matter how much you work, will ever be solved. That is a pattern that lives within you, that is rooted deeply in the ethos of who you are, that has got to be uprooted. There is this insidious nature that we have, especially as female business owners, that tells us that we need to be circus animals, to jump through hoops and bend ourselves backwards and do anything and everything to try to make money in our businesses, when the truth is that we actually don't need to do any of that. How do I know this? Because the week after I sent that email to them and said, when you want to hire me, let me know, I did 4 times the amount of that single contract in sales in 1 week. A month after I turned that contract down, I had done 8 times the amount of that contract in sales. And this is possibly the more important part, I did it in a way that feels really good to me. I did it in a way that's not going to require me to give 5 times more of myself than is necessary. I did it in a way where I get to make an absolutely huge impact in the lives of the women that I'm helping and serving without sacrificing myself in the process. And I think this is the kicker. All of us do this to one point or another. I was just interviewed on a podcast and we talked about how much we as women sacrifice ourselves for the betterment of others. I do want to say, 1, we need to not do that. But 2, there is a way for us to be taken care of in our businesses that also takes care of our clients, where it's not one person is winning and one person is losing, but rather both people are winning. Your clients are getting served. In fact, they're probably getting more impact in their lives because of working with you, and you are not sacrificing yourself in the process. So the second I found out who got the contract and that I didn't get the contract, I actually ran into the house screaming and being like, thank God, or goddess, whatever you believe in. Thank God that I did not get that contract, because that contract would require me to work 5 times harder than I need to during a period of the year when I shouldn't be working 5 times harder. Granted, we should never be working 5 times harder for 20% of our pay, but especially during the holidays. So let's look at what this means for you in your business. Where are the areas where you are overworking and underliving and sacrificing yourself in the process And what is causing that? What is underneath that is causing you to think that that is an okay thing to be doing in your business? That habit is something that you should be perpetuating and continuing to do over and over and over and over again. If it is something that we continue to do over and over again, you are absolutely guaranteed to burn out. Now, before I dive into this, I do want to say I just released a free resource for you that will literally help you go through this process to identify what is currently holding you back in your business from the growth that you're seeking, how to make a shift to that, and identifying what's underneath that pattern so that you don't repeat it ever again. So we're going to go into that last part now just a little bit. And if you want to go deeper into this, I encourage you to sign up for the Reset. It is a free 5-day mini course that is going to help you make over your business. It's going to help you stop overworking and underliving so that you can work less and live more. So I believe it's day 3 of the Reset. We dive into what is that underneath part? What is that part within you that is causing you to perpetuate this pattern, that is causing you to think that you need to say yes to a contract that's going to require you to work 5 times harder for 20% of the pay? Because again, myself and 100 of my colleagues are out there saying, absolutely not, F that, we don't play those games. So I want you to be in that camp. So next time this happens to you, you can say, absolutely not. I am not overworking and underliving, especially during the holidays, for a contract that's going to pay me 20% of what I usually charge. The things that cause us to say yes, oftentimes, now in my case, I was excited to say yes to it because of the mission and the vision. And if that's what's true for you, then by all means do that. And we can't do that continuously because then you're just constantly working for 20% of your pay. But if it's a case, like I mentioned earlier, where you're telling yourself like, oh, if I say no to this one, or if I don't take the time to complete this 20-page proposal for free, where's the money gonna come? How am I gonna make money in my business? If I say no to a 5-figure contract, my business is gonna fail. It's all of those narratives that we tell ourselves, and maybe you've heard yourself tell a few of them while I've been discussing this. How does it feel to you to think about saying no to a 5-figure contract? How would you feel sending the email that says, I'm not jumping through your hoops. If you wanna hire me, let me know. What does that bring up for you inside? Those feelings, those stories, those narratives that are presenting themselves to you right now as we're having this discussion are very telling. Those are the paradigms that are so deeply rooted in your subconscious that they're the ones that are going to keep you trapped in this cycle of saying yes to contracts, to clients that require you to continue to overwork and underlive while being paid a fraction of what you should be paid. The first step is always awareness. We need to spot the belief, the narrative, the pattern before we can do anything about it. If we don't know it's there, we can't do anything about it. We've just become aware of maybe some of the thoughts or paradigms that you're telling yourself about why you could never turn down a contract like this, even if it was taking advantage of your time and generosity. The next step in this process is that we really want to look at, where did this come from? Is this a habit or a pattern or a narrative or a thought that I want to continue thinking? If it's something I picked up from someone else, it's probably not even mine to begin with. It's like someone sets something down on a table, you pick it up, you carry it around for decades, and then all of a sudden you look down and you're like, why am I carrying this thing that I picked up 20 years ago? I don't even want it anyways. It's weighing me down. So you have to be really real with yourself. Do you want to keep doing this, or do you not want to keep doing this? If you don't want to keep doing this, if you don't want to keep overworking and underliving and saying yes to contracts that are going to take advantage of you and underpay you, the question then becomes, what do you want? What is the option that you want to have available to you on a regular basis? Because if you believe the only thing available to you is overworking and underliving while being underpaid, that's all that will be available to you. What do you want to believe about the clients that are coming to you, the contracts that are coming to you, the ways to make money in your business that are available to you? What does that look like? Is it rooted in freedom? Is it rooted in passive income? What is that thing that's so important to you about your business that you need to believe, that you need to see, that you need to embody in order to get to the point where you can work less and live more? Now, the fourth step is always the hardest one, because we can't just sit here one time you listen to this podcast and be like, oh, this is the new thing that I want. Great. Thanks, Bree. Have a nice life. Okay, bye. Our brains are conditioned through repetition. Just like when you go to the gym, you don't just lift one dumbbell one time and be ripped like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You gotta go to the gym every day. You gotta go and commit to your reps every day. Your muscles get built through time and repetition. The same thing applies to the narratives that you tell yourself. If you've been telling yourself the same narrative for 20 plus years about why you have to overwork and underlive, it's not just going to be fixed or shifted or changed from one thought. You're not just going to be able to listen to this and be like, oh, I'm good, next. You have got to repeat it for yourself in your mind over and over and over and over and over again until it becomes your norm. Now, some ways that I recommend doing this, I like to set alarms on my phone that go off periodically throughout the day that remind me to purposefully cultivate my thought patterns in that moment and tap in with the thoughts that I want to be thinking, the paradigms that I want to be believing. I also love making a backdrop for my phone. I'll make a backdrop for my laptop so that I have proof in front of me all the time that's reminding me to check back in with the reality I'm creating for myself, not the reality that I've been living. The other thing I like to do, I have sticky notes in and around my desk all the time. I will put sticky notes all over the place, all over my extra monitor, all over my desk. I have sticky notes everywhere, and I will put them there to remind me to think the way that my future self wants to be thinking. I've also started integrating some future self work into my morning. Who is my future self? Who already has the things that I want? What does she believe? How does she operate? What does she, as my future self, want to tell me today? What do I need to know today to embody my future self more so that I can become her more quickly? I really encourage you to start going through this process and unraveling the ways in which you are overworking and underliving. Because again, as I said at the beginning of this episode, you did not become an entrepreneur to miss out on the life that you're building as a result of being an entrepreneur. That's not why you started your business. That's not why you started doing this in the first place. So give yourself permission to actually build the business that you want so that you can work less and live more. If you need help with this, make sure to grab the reset, breesealy.com/reset. It's going to help you walk through this entire process. And if you're looking for a little bit deeper support around this, I would encourage you to apply to my Women's Business Mastermind, because this is everything that we are going to be doing. Not only am I going to help you identify the strategy that you need to implement this in your business, but you're going to get 6 months of support from not just myself, but 9 other women who are going through similar things. And you're all going to be upgrading your containers together so that on the other side, you all can walk out with a business that allows you to actually live the life that you're building. So if that's of interest to you, you can visit breesealy.com/mastermind, submit your application. It's going to give me a ton of information about where you've been with your business, where you want to go with your business, and it's going to help me understand more deeply how I can help you. After that, we'll hop on a call, see if it's aligned or not, and go from there. Super easy. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and my team. We would love to support you with this process. My mission and vision is to help more women become entrepreneurs, but not in a way that requires us to sacrifice ourselves. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Entrepreneur Coach. If this resonated with you, please feel free to share it with a friend who could also use this. Another entrepreneur who is overworking and underliving. We all need to come together during this time and support each other in being our best selves so we can have our best businesses. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you again next week. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Entrepreneur Coach podcast. I hope you gained valuable wisdom from this episode and have at least one thing you can act on today. As I always say, listening to this episode will not change your life. What you do afterwards will. Please be sure to leave a rating and a review of the show, and don't forget to share this episode with a friend or colleague who could use it. Last but not least, please have the audacity to believe in the inevitability of your success today. You deserve it.